Hi there, Body Da. My name's Rob. I'm Visitor Officer on Skomer Island. You've heard Leighton's talk about the sort of wildlife and that sort of side of the island. But it's just asked if I'll do a short talk on people and events in 2024, just to give you a bit of an update of where we've been and what we've done in the last year. So in this talk, I'll be going over sort of some of the visitor stuff, so a few facts and figures from our annual report, also who our staff and volunteers were this year. I want to talk briefly about EDI and highlight some of the sort of physical accessibility arrangements we had in place this year, including our accessible boat trips, and then touch on overnight events with a focus on a couple of new events that we had as well. So firstly, visitors and staff. This is going to be an extract of figures and bits of information which can be found in our annual report for 2024, which will soon be available on our website in the next couple of months or so. So day visitor wise then, what do we have? Boats ran from 30th of March all the way till the end of September. We had 22,449 day visitors visit us on a day boat, 170 private landers, that's people that have come in their own boat, and then 123 came on organised guided walks. So that's on a guided walk with West Coast Birdwatching with Dave Astons, who ran our Monday guided walks this year. And about 6 people came on a Welsh language guided walk as well, which is one of our accessibility events. That total 22,742 day visitors for the year. So this is slightly down on last year, you can see in the graph, but not by much, so we're not too worried. It's largely because of April. So in April this year, we had 11 out of 25 day boats cancelled, almost half the month, which caused a huge drop of a few thousand on the expected numbers we would have got for April based on who'd booked. So that obviously caused a significant impact right from the get-go in terms of numbers. Despite the numbers being down though, of all the boats that did run, 90% of tickets were sold on those boats, so that's a new record. So the demand was there. It was just the effects of the weather, unfortunately. August did really well. It was nice to see August up. We also saw a huge increase in the number of people who came on education boats. So that's young people, school age and university, who get a discounted rate on school visits. I saw a 30% increase up to about 586 people visited in 2024, which is really encouraging. Hostel guest wise, what do we have? So the hostel was open from the 22nd of April to the 21st of September. Again, a slight drop, again, all down to April really. We had 59% occupation in the hostel, whereas we had 93% booked. So it's supposed to be our highest by far, and the weather wiped out a lot with cancellations, which is a real shame. So 913 people visited over that hostel season. It's always been worked out slightly confusingly as the number of beds that have been occupied. So that's the total number of beds throughout the season that have had people in them. So that's 2,261 nights over the season had people staying in the hostel. Again, on that graph shows it compared to last year. When you add those together, that gives 25,003 total visitors to the island. You can see that on this graph here. So a slight dip of about 1,000 on last year. So from our visitors in person to those that enjoy our content online, we've got nearly 50,000 follows on our social media now across our 3 channels, which is really nice. It's nice to see that people that can't come can really keep up with the island as well. We saw a 20% rise of followers on Instagram. That was our fastest growing. Facebook stayed pretty steady, and we saw our first decline on Twitter this year that we've ever seen. We think because a lot of people are leaving Twitter, that probably impacted it a bit. Our blog did really well. So 112,000 reads on our blog this year. For the first time, it became more popular in Asia than it did in the UK. So that was nice to see that it's got a bit more of a global reach. And then our webcams as well. 120,000 views on our webcams, which is nice to see. There are 3 brand new webcams for this year, and numbers are already well up, which is really nice. The screen grab there, that's from a video that we put out. That was our best post this year on our channels. 108,000 people watched this video of fog on Skomer, a few shots of fog with the music behind it. We found that our music and our podcast posts were a lot more popular than static photo posts. Towards the tail end of 2024, we started a Skomer stories series, which is a sort of mixed media podcast and video series which sort of highlights areas on Skomer and sort of in a video and podcast format, and these did really well, and that's something we're really going to work on in 2025 and take forward, is a lot more video and podcast content in this series to try and show people different bits of Skomer they've not seen before. So, a bit of an overview of staff and volunteers. You can see myself, Leighton and Keris, and also Will, our seabird field worker, in that photo, also with a couple of long-term volunteers as well. So for first half, we had Mike and Huya join us as long-term volunteers. We tried to change things up a little bit this year. So in previous years, we've kind of let them come up with their own projects, and this year we did things a bit differently. So where they didn't have a project in mind, we were coming up with some sort of projects that would be beneficial to sort of island research. So Mike looked at chough and jackdaw numbers, and Leighton will have talked a bit about those in his talk, and monitored those as best he could and came up with some really good information about the sort of roost sites that he was finding for chough, and some understanding of where nests had failed as well, and then also an understanding of jackdaw numbers too. Huya, so she helped Will, the field worker, with razorbill plotting on Bull Hull, so that was daily visits there, and also tried to map our curlew numbers as well. So that's how we came up with the estimation of 3, possibly 4 pairs. The fourth one was never quite pinned down for sure. Dylan was our seabird volunteer. He joined us for 6 weeks in late May and June to help with all the work on the boat. So he was out on the boat for most of June, helping us count. Couldn't have done it without the extra pair of hands. So he did a report at the end on his experience of the whole 6 weeks. Nick and Pete, they were our second half long-term volunteers. They did a few smaller projects together, so things like golden hair lichen monitoring, ragwort mapping, North Valley willows, repair work that they needed doing as well. And it was nice to kind of have these mixture of tasks for them to do over the autumn period. As ever, we're very grateful to the Friends for the bursaries that they were given. So this year it increased to £350 for long-term volunteers, £250 for the seabirder. That increase came after we asked long-term volunteers from the last few years about how much they spent on food, and this helps us to reevaluate the figure in terms of cost of living and other bits and pieces to put it up a wee bit to 350. So yeah, we're very grateful for that. I just want to talk a little bit about EDI and accessibility. It's really important to everything we do on Skomer and within the wider work of the Wildlife Trust as well. So the photo on this slide is from our first ever Skomer Pride, which we had in 2024. Twofold really, to celebrate the staff and volunteers who are members of the LGBTQ+ community, both past and present, and also to make a stand as an island and sort of as an affirmation of our stance against homophobia, biphobia and transphobia. So what does EDI and accessibility really mean? So EDI is all about ensuring fair treatment and opportunity for all by eradicating prejudice and discrimination on the basis of an individual or group of individuals' protected characteristics. So these protected characteristics include things like disability, race, nationality, ethnic or national origin, religion, sex, sexual orientation, marriage and maternity. And these are sorts of all the things we are trying to ensure fair treatment and opportunity. Accessibility, so that's making an environment meaningful and usable for as many people as possible. So we're talking more physical issues with accessing the island and that sort of thing as well. You can see all these things on our website. I don't have time to go into all of them just now, but I'll touch on one or two things in just a moment. But you can see all the information how we're sort of trying to combat that in so many different ways on our website. So if you're at the talk in person last year, you will know I talked about young people and how difficult it can be for people starting out in conservation careers with lack of funds, lack of experience, that sort of thing, and ways in which we've tried to combat that. All continued this year. We had our Young Birders event and our Black to Nature event, and also support for our volunteers that were coming on the island. But this year I'd like to focus on something slightly different, on the more physical accessibility side of the island. So deaf and hard of hearing, that's on there. That comes under that. This year, for example, we introduced welcome talks on hard copies for the first time. So those that couldn't hear the welcome talk at the sales point were given these hard copies on request to be able to go through at their own pace. And we had a lot of uptake on that. It was really popular. We were really pleased to see that coming through the season. That's definitely something we'll be continuing. Another thing we really pleased we managed to do this year to support physical accessibility to the island is to support with accessible boat trips. So it's been a long-term aim of the island to try and help disabled people and those with limited mobility to enjoy the island. Everyone, I'm sure, has been or knows the island. Those steps are impossible for a wheelchair to get up, and that means we've really struggled to help disabled people to enjoy the island. Thankfully, Lisa managed to secure funding this year from the Nature Network Fund, which is part of the Heritage Lottery Fund, which supported the creation of some guided boat trips, around the island with Dale Sailing, with guides on board showing them the wildlife that they were seeing on the island. And they were totally free, these trips as well, which just removed another layer of accessibility for people as well. So you can see the photo on the left, which jetty we used. It's not the usual jetty for Skomer, it's the Dale jetty just round the corner, really, on the mainland. That was used to board Wave Dancer, so you can bring down a gantry on the back of that and wheel a wheelchair really easy on there. So for those with limited mobility, it's a very nice way of getting people onto the boat and really easily out to sea to go and look at the wildlife. We're really grateful these managed to go ahead. We only had 2 trips go ahead rather than the expected 4. This because the weather was quite bad on those other 2 trips. But these trips went round Skomer and Skomer in peak season to see puffins and other seabirds, which is really great. And we've had a lot of really nice positive comments about it as well. It's not just us, of course, that has made this possible. Thanks to Mike Davies, Shirley Matthews, who both helped with the health and safety and the initial planning of this, and also acted as guides on the second trip as well. A lot of Witsu staff involved, so Leighton and Keris, and Lisa as well, and myself did quite a lot of work to get this going, but also thanks to Skomer and other staff on the mainland who've really supported us with this venture as well. And I said these were popular. We actually had overwhelming support for these trips. Within 2 hours of putting them on sale, they were fully booked, and we also had 40 people on the waiting list by then as well, which is really amazing. Had some really positive feedback from people asking us to continue them for following years, and saying that it was the sort of thing that wasn't possible for them to be able to do before, and to make sure we were allowing as many people as possible to come and do this. And it was really, really nice to hear that. We also managed to win the Mary Smeaton Award, which is the Wildlife Trust wide across the UK initiative supporting projects and awarding projects that have made a significant contribution to EDI. So it was really pleasing to win that this year. We were really proud to win that. And as a result of that, we were able to support more trips next year in 2025. So we've already got funding in place for 6 trips, which will be advertised soon. That's been funded by the Nature Network Fund, and £1,000 that we also won from the award as well. So really looking forward to running those again in 2025. So that's a quick overview of physical accessibility. Just onto events quickly, just talk about some of our new overnight events and numbers on our events and bits and pieces this year as well. You see Sarah there, she's one of our Oxnav postdoctorate researcher with Oxnav. She's showing them how a Shearwater chick there and going through all the sorts of bits and pieces they do. That was on our Shearwater week. So all the events in green here were those that returned as overnight events this year from previous years. So Back to Nature and Young Birders, as I say, young people events, which we've run in previous years. Spring and autumn migration back as well, and yoga. And then Shearwater Week, as I've just mentioned, back for its 10th year this year, which is quite amazing. As popular as ever and sold out yet again. Art and music were 2 of our new events this year. So Skomer Art, Skomer Music, they were aimed at linking the beauty and power of the natural wonders we have on Skomer with the arts. Really, really popular. I'll go through those in just a second. 144 people visited in total across all of our overnight events this year. So Skomer Art then. Led by Linda Norris, the local artist, 13 places sold on this, so nearly sold out as well, with a few late dropouts. They went through lots of different forms of media, so watercolour, sketching, cyanotyping, a lot of using sort of ideas that they collected on the island to try and help them support the work they're creating. We had a private view at the end as well. They worked in the education shelter, which is at the back of the old farm building. It was incredible to see that turned into a studio at the end to show all their work and the bright colours and everything else. It's really quite amazing. That's nearly sold out again for 2025. Some of the same people, some new people that heard about it as well. So we're really keen to support that one again. And then lastly, Skomer Music. So this was led by Chris and Seth, who collectively known as Filkins Drift, which is a folk band you might have heard of. They're a Welsh-English folk band who walked the Welsh coast path last year. So they've got quite a connection to the islands and to the ocean off Wales as well. So we thought they'd be excellent people to run the retreat for us. The musicians help people compose their own songs and tunes, taught them some Welsh tunes and helped them develop some playing techniques as well. Really amazing to hear on the island. It's the first known music retreat that's ever happened, and it was really cool to hear the music coming out of the visitor centre, out of the workshop, out of every nook and cranny that they were practicing in around the farm. Really, really positive and really nice to see. It's also selling well again for 2025. The photo there shows one of our evening sessions. It was in Whole Island. Everyone on the island came to this session in the farm hostel lounge, which was fun and really nice to get everyone together for such a nice event. That's pretty much all I have time to talk about. A bit of a whistle-stop tour of just some visitor things this year. It's obviously not everything. If you've got any questions or there's anything else that I haven't covered that you want some more information of, then my email address is at the bottom, skomer.vo@welshwildlife.org. Or if you are coming to the Friends in person, then feel free to have a chat about things then. Obviously, very grateful to the Friends for all their help with long-term volunteering, Dale Sailing for all their support of all these events as well. And then the funding, again, provided by Heritage Lottery Fund, which is the Nature Network Fund as well. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you on the island soon. Jock and Val, thank you very much.